Good afternoon, PDHP parents and community. It's Carrie Ann from the Program for the Development of Human Potential, your parent and community outreach coordinator, here with you for our What's Good Wednesday. So, during this time, we have been talking a lot about self-care, and today I was reminded about self-care on a number of fronts. PDHP, when we have to address crisis in a school, we are always asked to go in with a couple of things to support us. Some water to drink and something to eat, because we have to remember to take care of our basic needs. And when difficult times compound upon us, it is important for us to step back and make sure that we are caring for ourselves so that we can fill the cup of others, so that we can take care of our families, take care of our homes, and do the work that we need to do. So wellness is very important. So I just want to address a little bit about wellness. A couple of years ago at a training, we were reminded of 8 dimensions of wellness. And when we talk about wellness, we talk about a conscious, deliberate process that requires awareness of making choices to create a healthier or more satisfying lifestyle. Wellness is not merely the absence of a disease or illness or stress, but it's the presence of a purpose in life, active involvement in satisfying work and play, joyful relationships, a healthy body and living environment, and happiness. So there are 8 dimensions to be aware of. One would be your emotional dimension. This is developing skills and strategies in order to cope with stressors and anxieties. This is financial, satisfaction with current and future financial situations. Social, which would be developing a sense of connection and a well-developed support system. Think about when we were talking about parent peers or peer parents, having those bonds and those connections. Spiritual, we've talked a lot about spiritual practice in many different ways. The search for meaning and purpose in our human existence. Occupational, which would be personal satisfaction and enrichment that's derived from our work. Physical wellness, which is recognizing the need for physical activity and for diet that's proper and nutrition, balanced. The required amount of sleep and rest. Intellectual, which recognizes our creative abilities, our finding ways to expand our knowledge and our skills. And our environmental, good health by occupying pleasant and stimulating environments that support our well-being. When we look at all of these, there becomes awareness of different ways that we can be for a more satisfying lifestyle, as we said. So I want you to ground into some of those self-cares, that you've been looking at, whether it's a mindful practice, whether it's a spiritual practice, whether it's what you're eating, what you're reading, what you're seeing, what you're speaking of, having a safe place to kind of unload, invent, and find support. The idea of even just drinking enough water, keeping hydrated, taking medicines, sticking to a routine, showering, getting enough rest, having a little time for oneself. In some of the postings today on PDHP Parents, I had shared the calendar Joyful June from Nina Waith, who is our regional supervisor in Brooklyn, as well as our PDHP counselor in St. Bernard's, in Bergen Beach, and Good Shepherd in Marine Park. And if you look at Wednesday, June 3rd, it asks you to think of 3 things that you're grateful for and to write them down. So that's something that we can do. Sometimes self-care when it seems such a ginormous task can be found in simplicity. Consider just straightening your place, folding your laundry, putting the dishes away. These are mundane prospects, but there's something familiar, there's something grounding, there's something caring in that. We talk a lot of times about where stress hits us when we talk about Mindful Monday, and a lot of times it's the idea of physical, what's manifesting physically, and how can we use that to our benefit, that name it to tame it strategy. But sometimes it's hard to tune into that. So I know recently, this week when I've been looking at our guidance counselors' letters, one of them that kind of struck me was Mrs. Jen, who is our family therapist in Brooklyn and one of our supervisors, as well as providing PDHP counseling for Holy Angels Catholic Academy in Bay Ridge. And she kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was considering talking about a progressive muscle relaxation and talking about that today. And she actually brought that out as one of her levels of support for this week. And she likened it to something very simple, which I think we can also get our kids on board with. The idea of squeezing a lemon. You know, squeezing a lemon, squeezing your fists, squeezing your muscles very tight, and then like letting that release. And seeing that soothing in that release, seeing how it does feel to have that tension and hold that tension in our bodies and be more familiarized with that. You know, that's kind of a symptom for us to stop and maybe check in with ourselves, take care of ourselves, incorporate a self-care practice, okay? And you can do that throughout your body. You know, a friend of mine used to say that, you know, when she's really having a hard time sleeping because of stress and anxiety, she would do a tension exercise throughout her body. You know, she'd kind of tense up her toes, tense up her feet, ankles, legs, stomach muscles, buttocks, shoulders, arms, hands, face even. And she received such a physical relief from just finding that relaxation afterwards that she could provide herself. You know, think about that communication. We're communicating with our nervous system to say, we're okay in this moment. You know, we can go on in this moment. We can soothe ourselves in this moment. We're grounded to the moment. So I do advise you to take care of yourself, even if it's just those simple practices that you do normally. Just tune into them. Let's remember gratitude. Let's remember the joyful things, as Miss Waith has said. And let's come together again on Friday for Family Fun Friday. Be well, keep safe.